So, dear investors, we are back with quarterly reports. Some older investors remember me filming them regularly, and we are back to doing this. So, we will keep you updated on recent developments and performance. So, let's deep dive into the numbers of the first quarter. So, in this quarter, we funded a record amount of 7.8 million, which is almost 3 times more than year before. Investors earned 500K during Q1, and our lending policy still is focused on low LTV loans. So many of you know that we changed our lending policy in 2024, switching to almost fully to machinery and land-backed loans. And yes, the proportion of loan to value is on average 40%, which brings safety. Average return was almost 12%, and the rates are higher during this quarter usually because of high season for farmers and higher demand for financing. So it brings also more opportunities to investors to choose the better projects to diversify. In March we had, I think, over 85 projects published, so there's many opportunities. Also, of course, we are growing actively, and we are also rewarding new investors who join LANDE at this point with a new investors cashback campaign of 3%. And everyone is also able to participate in the seasonal spring campaign, which is maximum of 2% on top of that. So potentially it could bring your nominal interest rate up to 17%. But of course, it's important to remember to diversify. Let's move into the next slide. So here we can see the funding volume growth, and we see this huge spike for the first quarter. So, and this is not a coincidence. This is a result of previous year's work preparations. We launched new market. We spent a lot of resources and invest a lot of resources into that launch. It's Poland, and it started pretty well from the first month. Romania and other markets are also maturing. The teams are getting more experienced. We get more brand awareness on those markets, and it also pays off in larger volumes. Here about the Polish land, more details. We take launching new markets very seriously. We already launched 2 markets, Lithuania and Romania. It is also always a high risk period, without any doubt. So we made maximum precautions which is possible, making intense due diligence and focusing only on the safest loans. So in Poland we're focusing on land-backed loans with low LTV, because we know that on the other markets historically, even during the crises, the COVID crisis and Ukraine war, the fertilizer price spikes, even during those periods, those agricultural land-backed loans performed well still. So this brings, this is a good track record and good strategy when you launch a market. We also went with the most sophisticated and most secure type of agreements, loan agreements. We are signing them with a notarial deed, which is more expensive way for the company to originate loans, but it's much more stiffer and faster in debt collection ways. So it is called Article 777. Maybe you already heard about it from other lending companies, but we are using it from day one. Also, from day one, we have hired an experienced director of operations with 10+ years experience in agricultural lending. Looking for the portfolio performance all time, which means from LANDE launch, it is 5 years. We see that historically Latvia is the best performing market, 3.6% overall default rate, and not only defaults marked by LANDE, but any loan which is 90+ days, it is only around 3.6%. In Lithuania it's a bit higher historically because it was not our home market, and it was a learning curve here as well. And in Romania it was historically the highest default rate, but we also see that it's going down with improvements in credit scoring and with more experience gathered by our team. But also we see that, for example, Lithuania, after the learning curve, we see that now it's actually the best performing market in 2025. There is 0 loans with delay more than 90 days. And actually most of the loans have either high principal repayment, big amounts of principal repayment scheduled in 2025, so they successfully paid those principal amounts payments, and most of the loans also have monthly interest, so none of them delaying 90 plus days. And that's an amazing result, and Lithuania right now is a best performing market, while historically it was struggling in the beginning. So it's important to see as a progress we are doing in origination, and the results are getting better. In Latvia also the default rate is small. In Romania we are still improving our policies and stiffening the credit scoring policy. Very popular question I'm getting with market and macro context, especially regarding Iran war, because this is a topic which is quite popular in media, and it also affects each one of us in our private lives due to higher costs of fuel, and because of that many people think that it has an incredible amount of effect on farmers, but there is an effect, of course, for sure, but for example, there was a much harder and bigger impact during Ukrainian war and fertilizer price spikes, and people talked less about it just because it was less in the media. But also talking about the current situation with fuel, on each market where LANDE operates, we see strong government support, subsidies, tax reliefs, and we have also wrote a detailed report which you can see here on our webpage, either scanning this QR code, either just going to lande.finance to the blog section and reviewing all those support measures made by the governments. So talking about the future plans, our 2025 audit is coming soon, I guess in the nearest weeks. It is almost finished, and last year was profitable, as also year before. Financially, platform is successful and stable with high equity and good reserves. It will be published as usually under our webpage, under transparency section, so you just go to lande.finance, to the footer, there is transparency section where all the reports are published. This would be our third year with audited reports. Also, we are doing some UX improvements for better usability on your mobile phone, because I mean this is the most convenient way we want to operate is a mobile phone, and it wasn't updated for already some time. Speaking about the plans, so the plan for funding volume is 30 million for this year. Q1 already succeeded and actually outdone the plan for a bit. It was 8 million. So yeah, there will be quite many good projects and many positive cashback campaigns for investors, which you could benefit from. Also, we are working behind the scenes on a high liquidity product, which are quite popular on the market right now. Many investors like using them, and it's a big project for us because it combines many parts of our company. You need to implement it correctly legally, technologically, and financially, so this is safe, secure, and working pretty well. So I'm not ready to state right now the launch date, but we will inform you on the developments. And last but not least, we're doing Slido questions, and I'll reply the questions which were not covered during the presentation. So the first and of course most popular question is regarding defaults. So there are some historically longer loans which are in default. Most probably there are harvest loans which we stopped issuing already in 2024 due to high risk and change in geopolitics over the world. So we're not issuing them anymore, and for harvest loans the default rate was 5%, which is still decent comparing all the crises and risks, but some of the loans are in recovery for already some years. We spoke with country managers on their vision on what to do with those loans. Either they're planning to write them off or they'll still hope to recover the funds. And in many cases, they see potential to recover some of the funds because debt collection is a really mm, mm, really long process in terms that, of course, you can sell some assets if they are, but there are also some possibilities to go deeper, to look into private assets. We also had some cases where we needed to be more creative to debt collect. And yes, so I think we will rediscuss and review again what are the possibilities on those loans and maybe decide on some write-offs. But this is not done because it's still active work going with bailiffs, and until there's possibility to recover some funds, we will continue pushing those loans. Statistics on percentage of principal recovered from default loans. So there is not such statistics right now. I would say this is quite data intense on our side to provide such percentage. So right now we are providing just outstanding defaults, and you see the successful recoveries in your accounts. And yes, so not so detailed, could be improved. I agree with that. So can you explain realistically what the recovery prospects are for the default project backed by crops? So this is a topic we just covered in the first question. How many projects backed by crops being recovered? So yes, so historical default rate, as I mentioned, is only 5% for harvest loans during the years. So I would still say that most of the loans are recovered successfully. Next question, statistics, how many projects you need to invest to achieve the average return, including defaults? Actually, this is a very important topic for investors that we have done the calculations, and statistically, approximately you need ideally 100 loans invested over the years to achieve the average result on the platform. If you invest in just a few loans, there is a possibility that you might just get unlucky and have poorer results than on average are on the platform for other users. I would say the minimum would be to tend around 50 loans with a minimum investment of 50 euros. That's 2,500 euros, which could be split into several years. And I would say this is quite achievable and recommended from our side. Collaterals and LTVs appear sound. Smaller loans, if smaller loans default, security must be enforced. Legal costs may be significant. How does this cost compare to recovered? Actually, yes, in our case, since the loans are backed with collateral, the costs are not the risks. Of course, we pay the legal costs upfront from our own balance sheet, but they are also added to the recovery amount, and after successful recovery, the funds are returned to us. So in this way, we are also highly motivated in successful recoveries because we spend the money upfront and then we get it back. Question about the rising fuel prices and the risks for the portfolio. As we said, the current risks and increase in pricing is much more lighter than it was during the Ukrainian war and the spike price for gas, fertilizer, and overall inflation. And since then, since the crisis, previous crisis, we made our lending policy even more secure and safe, switching almost fully to asset-backed lending. So we expect that the current crisis will not have such big impact. And most of our loans are very good, have a lot of security, and that it's not only important that there is a collateral, but what it means that if a client has available assets to pledge, this means that overall his equity is in better shape and he is more resilient to the crises. So he can withstand more shocks than more indebted borrowers. So it's not only collateral, but overall his capital structure. So in this regard, we see that there's a lot of resilience in our portfolio and risks are not increasing vastly. A question about the current late payment trend, and what we see annually is that each year the delay statistics are improving. We will also publish a detailed portfolio review by vintage, by country, and by collateral type, so you can see the clear improvements. So we are working on making our policy more stiff, more secure each year. by reducing the risks, and it is paying off, and it is seen in the numbers. I think we will publish this detailed report in the nearest week, so there will be a deeper dive in statistics. But overall trend is positive for many reasons: more experience in the team, more secured approach each year, and so on. Okay, again, a question about rising inflation, energy prices. So I guess, yeah, this is, as I said, topic very popular in the media, and many people ask about it. But the impact, I would say, there is an impact, but it's a bit overpushed by the media narrative, and we don't see it as a high risk as it is stated. Question about the implementing of AutoInvest. We already do have it for many years. Okay, again, a question about the prices. Yes, search filters about the purpose of investment between working capital and loan refinancing, loan extension. This is actually a good idea. This could be actually added, and let's add this to the backlog for IT. So, questions from Christian. Are there any plans for technical enhancement for the AutoInvest feature? If you have any proposals, feel free to propose, and we carefully listen to feedback, and we'll review it. Would it be possible to add portfolio export file, initial loan value and current loan value to know the current LTV based on outstanding debt? Actually, this is a good point. Actually, we don't have it now, but it's quite valuable information, because actually, if you start with, if a loan, when it's originated, has an LTV of 40 or 50%, by repaying parts of principal amount, LTV is decreased even more, and maybe after 1 year, LTV, loan to value, is already even less, around 20%. So also a valuable piece of information, which I guess is possible to add, but also possible actually to calculate yourself. So yes, that's all about the questions. You can see also here the new referral reward campaign. So if you're referring a friend, you get 1% cashback on his investment for 30 days. And right now we added also for the referee, we added €5 because people like, clear amounts as a percentage of cashback, not always give you this good perception of the bonus. So there's both right now €5 and 3% cashback for first 30 days. So use this opportunity. That's it, and thank you, and let's see you again in the next quarter.